Welcome to our October session of the Meet the Author Book Club at Authors Alcove for fantasy readers. Tonight, we're diving into, with the Halloween theme, the haunted folklore rich world.
Hi, welcome to our October
That's what I was trying to
of
stop from
the
doing,
Meet the
and of
Author Book
course,
Club at
I
Authors
did
Alcove for
not
fantasy readers.
do it well.
Tonight,
There we go. So sorry about that. Okay, we're going back on. So this week we are talking about of Myth and Memento Mori by the talented Victoria Clapton. It's a perfect Halloween pick. That's why I chose it, with a story that combines mystery, Southern charm, romance, and mythology. I love books on mythology. And then in 2 weeks, on November 13th, me and a few others, a couple of them here, will be continuing the Fantasy Geek Out sessions discussing Sarah Maas's second book, ACOTAR, in the ACOTAR series. So, and that would be A Court of Mist and Fury. I believe we still have a few open spots, so if you want to reach out, that would be great. I believe so feel free to reach out. And then after that, we will be presenting Miriam Yvette's book, and I'll give her a chance in just one moment to share about that and what we should expect there. But first, I would like to introduce our guests, or our co-hosts. First up is Rebecca Maeve Hartwell. She has been with us from the very beginning. She actually was with me one of my very first interviews over at Authors Alcove, the Writing Corner. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I write under the pen name Rebecca Maeve Hartwell, and I write romantic fantasy, which is very, very fun and definitely my wheelhouse for editing and writing and reading.
One of my very first interviews over at Authors Alcove, the Writing Corner.
Just one moment. I am
do you mind
sorry.
a little bit about yourself?
This is not.
Sure. I write under the pen name Rebecca Maeve Hartwell, and
I am so sorry.
Anybody missed your name, now they've got it.
I don't know how to prevent that from happening. Like, I got to figure that one out. Okay. So sorry. This is me doing this. Okay, great.
I'm also an editor. I edit through Heartbound Editing, and I also happen to be a hobbyist historical costumer, hence the costume tonight.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I am so sorry about that. All right, and next is somebody who's been with me since before the beginning. She was with me when I did my very first podcast 3 years ago and has been just cheering me on ever since. And that is Dawn Marie Manning. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself too?
Yes, my name is Dawn Marie Manning. I am also an author. I'm looking to start my own podcast, and it's about, my podcast is called Wow, That's a Lot. And it's for anybody who has a story to tell that's unusual, interesting, or helpful in any way. Because every time people hear my story, the thing they say is, wow, that's a lot. It is a lot. I am a mother of 5, and my daughter is one of the people that's going to geek out with the fantasy geek out. And she is so excited about this book. But Angie and I have known each other since before she was born, for like 19 and a half years.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, really long time. And you ever meet somebody and you instantly know that you're going to be friends? That's the way it was. We were just instantly friends. And I am her biggest fan. I think that what we're doing here is so exciting. And when she told me this idea of getting to meet authors and talk to them about their books, I was like, cartwheels, let's do this. I'm in. Let's go. Come on. Because this is so exciting for me. But I'm really, really happy to be here and really excited about all these amazing authors and these wonderful people that I've gotten to meet because of this. Myrenne, we met with you last month, and that was so much fun. And then you were a guest before as well. It's so nice to meet you. And Rebecca, the better I get to know you, the more I respect you. And Victoria, it was so exciting to talk with you last month, and I'm excited to talk about your book. And Miriam, yay, we get to meet you and learn about you and all of the wonderful talent that all of you guys have. So much talent across the screen. And I'm so much in awe of all of you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And Myrenne May, she was the author last month. She's a steampunk fantasy writer. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about you?
Absolutely. Thank
you. Yeah, my debut novel released in September of 2024, Three Coins from a Dead Man's Pocket. It is steampunk, it is fantasy, it is romance, it is epic world building, and it is spicy. And so I'm working on book 2 right now, hopefully to have that being released on Kickstarter in April of 2025. That's the goal. And so if you want to know more, I'll leave a link and you can check it out. Thank you for having me, Agnes. I'm so excited to talk about Victoria's book. I've read lots of Victoria's books, and I'm super excited to hear all the background info about her stuff.
And I did not mention, I am so excited that you guys wore costumes. I should have participated. But anyway, and then I want to now introduce Miriam Yvette. She is our special co-host because she is going to be the author of the Meet the Authors Book Club next month for Children of Rima. I'm very excited about that. Would you just introduce yourself and also share a little bit about what we can expect this month as we read Children of Rima? Oh,
There we
your
go.
volume's not. Oh, there we go.
So my name is Miriam Yvette, and I write romantic fantasy. That's basically how I started off, just because I like the balance of world building and adding romantic tones to it. I do have several books that are not in the romantic fantasy genre. I also want to stretch into the paranormal romance and into just the fantasy romance. Children of Rima is basically a tale of generally of light versus dark. And we follow two characters, Eileen and Lucan. In their adventure, Eileen is considered the town's heathen. Lucan is this very morally gray character with very morally gray, flawed best friends who are basically living almost like in a double life, especially for Lucan because of his secret. And I'm not really good at explaining my book, so that's all I can say.
No one is. It's hard. But
Right?
you get it nailed down. It's so hard.
Yeah, it's my job to ask everybody the hardest question about their book is like, what's it about?
Right.
All right. And then last but not least, our guest of honor for this month is Victoria Clapton. She was a co-host last month, and she is the brilliant mind behind our Halloween special of Myth and Memento Mori. Victoria, would you like to share a little about your journey as an author and what inspired this hauntingly memorable story?
Like the others that spoke, I write usually in romantic fantasy, but I kind of go all over the place. I cannot stick to one genre. It's not my thing. But I always add a little bit of spooky and a whole lot of mythology, no matter what I'm writing. I just sort of it just leaks out. It has to go into a story in one way or another. This particular book is kind of personal. I took a family story and made a fictional book about it. My family came from Appalachia, and this story that's in this book, now that you guys have read it, that's the story my great great grandmother told, and it's been passed down in my family. Now, yes, I elaborated some, but we've kind of always had this story, and all of my writing sort of surrounds who I am and where I came from.
Nice. Now I would like to just turn it over back to our co-hosts, and I want to ask you guys, well, first off, before I ask them what their favorite part is, I want to share what my favorite part is. And I absolutely loved your nod to Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, Lenore. Like, I was waiting through the whole thing. I was like, that's the first question I'm going to ask. And then when you referenced that it might be named, I was like, oh, it went to a nod to him. So I loved that. That was my favorite. Do you guys mind sharing what your favorite parts was? We can start with my.
So I'm going to say my favorite thing about this book, there were so many moments where you were writing and it just made me laugh out loud because like it's kind of like, well, that's exactly what we're all thinking, but yet the character just comes out and says it, or something just happens. So I have my book dog-eared here. I know that's horrific, but I didn't have a better way to do it. But the scene in the first thing that I kind of thought was really funny and really great was when the ghosts turn up the volume to listen to the football game, even though nobody has a clue who's playing or what's going on, And Charlie's like, woohoo, even though there was another touchdown happening. Like they're just partying along with the ghosts, which I think is so cheeky and so funny. And there were so many little moments like that that made me laugh. And that's kind of one of the first ones I wrote down, that I was like, oh, that's so funny. I just love that. So I like their attitude about the ghosts and how they work alongside of them in the funeral home.
You want to go next, Rebecca?
My favorite part was Gwillem, in case you couldn't tell. I adored that character. I thought that was one of the sexiest, most unique, just ethereal love interests I've read in a very long time, and I am feeling so inspired to go dive into more Welsh and Celtic mythology and revisit some Dryad ideas I've had in the past. I loved Gwillem so much.
Rebecca, can you believe it? We actually love the same character best.
It's a miracle. It's a Halloween miracle.
All right, Dawn.
Okay, so I was gonna say the way that she interacts with ghosts was my favorite part too.
Sorry, Dawn.
Yeah, but like, you know, playfully and the, you know, everywhere and all of this stuff. And then when she can see them, she has this understanding before she can even see them. She has this understanding that how we pay tribute to them is really important here, and just seems to get that. Like she just gets it, and then treats them just like, you know, like anybody, you know, like they're there and they're people and they need help and we're good and here, let's play around and stop slapping my butt, you know, like it's just great. But the other thing I love about this is that she just takes everything in stride. Get weird stuff in the mail, I'll just wear that ring, you know, put that bracelet on, you know. Then this guy she doesn't even know is a distant relative shows up with this blanket and her first thought is this quilt. And her first thought is, I need to add my parents to this quilt and honor their lives. And it's just like, I just love how she just takes everything in stride, and then everything is about honoring the lives that have gone on before her, and this understanding, even in the way that she treats Mr. Love Interest, you know, understanding that what he does and who he is really important, and that her past times that her soul showed up in the past, that was meaningful to him. And I felt like she really gave him a lot of honor. Did you guys catch that same thing too?
Definitely. Miriam?
Dawn already mentioned it when the ghost slaps Lenore's ass. I was not expecting that, and the moment you did that, I just started laughing. Definitely the supernatural, the feeling, the coziness. I almost felt like I was there with Lenore as she was carving those pumpkins, and the warm people who attend there who like her despite Lenore admitting that she's a little bit strange. But yeah, that's one of them.
Awesome.
I was going to mention Gwilyn, but yeah, it's in my review already.
So the rest of the format of the rest of the book club is just open-ended. You guys can ask questions whenever. I might call you out if you haven't talked in a little bit. Aside from that, I will start off with my question first. And that is that one of the things that I really liked, and a lot of people shy away from this because you want to make sure, like in most books, I think it's good to shy away from, but I love that you embraced it, and that is cliches. I really felt like it really anchored the culture in your story, that particular. And so I love that you like really pulled out like a ton of cliches, and that made me giggle a lot. My personal favorite cliche is one that my husband uses a lot, and that was, it's colder than a witch's tit. He says that all the time, and it makes me giggle every single time because he was the first person I ever heard say that. What was your reasoning for choosing to use so many is it actually, would it be colloquialisms, or is that the correct word for that?
I would use colloquialisms, yes. So my reasoning, fun fact, this story started out as a horror story. It was supposed to be scary. And when I'm editing, what I usually do is I edit out, you guys can probably tell from the way I talk, I'm Southern. And usually when I write, those sayings get edited out. They just get edited out because I talk that way, but we get rid of that for usual for books. But for some reason, when I was going through like the second or third edits and starting to remove these things and make it a creepier book, I was like, this is funny. I think and I mean, it's appropriate. My family talks that way. Everybody else I know from Appalachia talks that way. And so I leaned heavily into it. And what happened is I didn't have a horror book anymore. I had something that had a little spooky and a little cozy, but it was really funny. It wasn't intentional, but it is very funny. You're right.
I will say that the way that you dealt with that and the bits of humor that are, speckled in there, it left me with wanting more, wanting to see more of that spunk and that spark, and wondering if you had that same kind of humor in your other books.
Ladies, I think I do. I think those I think it's in my other books, but maybe in a darker way. I don't know. Myra or Miriam might could tell you better.
Yeah, I don't recall hearing anything that I thought was funny in Subaru's End. I feel like Subaru's End was very dark and very rich and very very serious. So I don't recall it in those particularly. But I just wanted to say also about the sayings is that it's a great thing. It's talent on your behalf that you recognize that it was funny and you recognize that it fit with the setting and with the characters and that it was part of who they were and you didn't take it out. Like, I think that is true authorship there when you go, okay, wait, I'm trying to make this story into something it's not, and I've got to take a step back and let the story speak for itself and keep those in if that's what the story needs. And you recognize that was what the story needed. And you recognize that that story wasn't what you thought you were telling and it came out differently, right? Which happens when we write. But I think that was really great and really wise of you to be able to recognize that and to capitalize on keeping those things in as a form of who these people are.
Yeah, I kind of felt for Super's End. I also felt a little bit, not Lenore, but kind of like when something goes wrong, she makes a comment and you could just see her personality bounce out. And that's one of them that I could mention.
I would love to know if you already had a background in Welsh mythology and, modern witchcraft practice before you started writing this book, or if you did that research for writing this book and what that research process kind of looked like for you. Wow, I can't talk tonight.
Same.
Oh, that's a very, I'm going to kind of try to condense and say, yes, I had a background in all of those things. And you will see those themes kind of across. It's not always Welsh. Sometimes it is Celtic. Sometimes it's Norse. You will see those themes across everything I write. Even the books they were talking about a minute ago, they are high fantasy books, a made up world, but they are still built on the mythology around the Seven Sisters, and what that mythology looks like worldwide, because every culture has a different mythology that goes around these seven stars that are in the sky. But yes, I'm a little bit Welsh, not as much as some people on this here, but I'm a little bit Welsh, a whole lot Irish and Scottish, and that comes out quite a bit.
Cool.
It was
and
actually
what about the witchcraft side of things?
Indeed. Yes, I've studied quite a bit. Yes.
Cool.
Well, can you tell us more about your apothecary shop? That's right in the same vein, isn't it?
We have an apothecary shop my mother and I run that is not based I'm sorry to tell you, it's not based on witchcraft. It's based on my mother had a child, me, that is autoimmune and allergic to 17 pages of products. I just can't use the normal things everybody else uses, and so my mom started an apothecary, and we started small. It's really growing in leaps and bounds now, and everything we make is organic and natural and chemical free, and it's pretty great. So it does kind of fall in line with that, but not for that reason. It's because I'm allergic to literally everything.
Do you have it online or is it just a local one?
We do have an Etsy shop. It's Purple Parlor Apothecary, or Purple Parlor Apoth is what the Etsy shop is. But we sell more locally than we do on Etsy. But yes, we do it on Etsy as well.
Okay, I'm very autoimmune and I like
Same.
same thing. So I always buy everything natural because like if I use even hand wash at stores, my hands will get all dry and nasty. And
Yep.
I hate washing my hands at like after I go to the bathroom I've tried to avoid using bathrooms in public. But anyway, I was actually wondering the same thing about the research. And one of the stories that I found very interesting is the knockers, because I hadn't really heard about that. Do you know any background story that you did not include about the knockers?
Yes. Okay, so the knockers actually originally, this is a Scottish mythology, but it came over. So when the Scottish people and Irish people came over and they settled in North Carolina and South Carolina and they were working the mines are dangerous. They were dangerous then, they're dangerous now. And they brought this story because you would hear tapping in the woods. And now the original mythology, the knockers were nice. And that's not how I read it. That is not how my grandmother told it. But in the original story, they were nice and they saved the miners. They would keep them from harm. And that's not how it got passed down to me, though, which is common in anywhere in Appalachia. Stories get darker and darker. The woods are scary. The mountains, they're creepy. You know, don't follow whistles. All the things, the rules at the beginning of the book, those are legitimate things that we are taught. You're told not to do.
So, even being outside after dark and that kind of thing, like you do not
Absolutely.
go out. Okay.
Oh, I do. I'm crazy. I do, but we're told not to. Love the dark,
Rule breakers
but
here.
we're told not to.
So
We're told to hold our breath.
Sorry, Don,
Go
go ahead.
So I have a question. Okay, so my brother is very much into independent movie making, and he recently took a script and made it into a book, but there's already plans to make it into a movie. So everything that I read, it goes through a lens of, could this be made into a movie? I feel like yours could. If it was a movie, who would you want playing Lenore and Charlie?
Oh, does age matter? Do we care?
No, we do not care about age.
I would want Lenore to be played by Katie McGrath. Katie McGrath. And Charlie. Oh, probably Amanda Seyfried. Which I know ages me, but I just feel like Charlie is so bubbly. She's so authentically very different than me. And I just feel like somebody that's always cheerful would be good for her.
Okay, can you say who you said for Charlie again?
I said Amanda Seyfried.
Okay, because I thought of two people as I'm reading Charlie. I thought of the Princess and the Frog and her blonde friend.
Oh,
Yes, Lottie.
Yes, Lottie.
Lottie.
I could not think of the name. And I also thought of
It's
Kristen
interesting.
Chenoweth.
Ooh. Okay, we'll see. Now, I love Kristen Chenoweth, but I will say, when I was writing Charlie, I thought of that character Lottie from The Princess several times. Her humor reminded me of
Wrote her
that.
well then. Then you wrote her well, because when I would read about Charlie, that is who I would see. Okay, so then comes the obvious next question, which is, who would play our leading man?
Ooh. Y'all, I don't have anybody picked out. I've never thought about this. I don't know. Do you have a preference? I'm curious.
Anyone else have a preference?
I mean, I think I was picturing him kind of as like Richard Armitage. I don't know if anybody else knows that actor,
I
but
don't know who that is.
Hold on.
I'll have to
Oh,
Google
a
it.
celebrity name.
he's tall, dark, and handsome. I mean,
Oh, that works.
Okay, so what kept coming to mind for me, I can't think of the actors. Guys, I'm really bad with names. I'm also autoimmune and I have like no memory. My memory's shot like Angie. We are sisters in memory issues. The actor from Outlander.
The guy who plays
Oh.
Jamie.
Yeah, because partly because I kept thinking, you know, plaid and green and so that's kind of who I thought. But the other one, he's in everything. Oh,
Oh,
dang it, I can't think of his name. What'd you say?
Oh, I think everything went frozen. So on my end, it went frozen. So
Let me look him up really quick.
Well, while she's doing that,
all right.
I want to know if you had like a list of these sayings and you just kept like marking them off as you used them, and how many sayings you had as you were writing this book, because I underlined some of the sayings that I have heard, but that I also underlined some that I haven't ever heard, because I was like, oh, that's a new one. So did you have a list, or did you just kind of, like, well, what sounds good here, and just throw it in?
I didn't have a list. I made a list. I made lists listening to people talk at my work, and like if I'm in public or going to the coffee shop, and every time I would hear something drop, someone say one of those sayings, I would write it down. And I ended up, you guys, I have a list somewhere. I probably have 100 more. Easy, like different variations of this, because different people say it differently. So I could go on and on with just those sayings. In fact, I was afraid I overdid it in the book, so I wasn't sure, but I just wrote down what I heard actual people say and then threw it in there.
I don't think it was overdone at all. I think it was pretty right on. I had one underlined. I'm trying to find it that just made me laugh out loud. Well, shoot, let's see. If I find it, I'll come back. But oh, I also loved your quote of always read the banned books. Always read them, even when you can't talk about it. I underlined and starred and circled that. I was like, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Even if you don't agree, read them.
That's true too.
Yeah.
It can help form what you don't believe.
Yes, and you have to have
so,
that perspective.
Speaking of banned books,
Carl,
what is your favorite banned book? I'd like to know everybody's favorite banned book while we're on the topic.
Oh gosh, I don't even know the
I
list.
don't think I know
I
what
don't
books
even
are
know.
banned well enough.
Yeah.
I don't either.
I know.
I mean, there was this huge thing
I looked
against.
it up.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I mean, there was this huge thing, like you mentioned it about against Harry Potter and stuff. And I actually went toe to toe with my mom on that one, where I was like, Mom, what you're talking about is good versus evil. And someone who is kind and thoughtful and unselfish and willing to put himself on the line and willing to sacrifice himself to fight someone who's there to hurt people. How can this be bad? So I let my kids read it, even though I'm a Christian and everything. And some of the people I went to church with would have had a problem with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's their problem, not mine. But yeah. Oh, I thought I looked up who it was. It's Carl Urban.
Miriam, do you have a question?
Yeah, actually, I do have a question. I want to focus back on Gwilym. And
Okay.
one of my questions is, what inspired you to create a relationship with Lenore and an elemental spirit? Because I gotta know.
Number one, I'm not I'm not a fan of conventional relationships in fiction. I'm not a fan of conventional relationships in fiction. I know that's crazy. You're never going to pick me up, watch Myra, and she's going to cringe. I'm never going to pick up Bridgerton. It's not my thing. But I,
I do. I love you some
I,
Bridgerton.
I, with this, it was more of, it began not so much as an elemental as showing the relationship between a human and nature. And I sort of melded that sort of theory. Of course, Gwillem represents quite a few things in mythology. He represents Taliesin. He represents Cernunnos. There's all these different characters that appear in mythology that he sort of represents, and I wanted to show her building a relationship with him that eventually comes out with her family and things that her family has been hiding. It comes out when she's definitely not a witch, because they're not witches, absolutely not. But it comes out that they have this relationship, that family has had this relationship for many, many, many generations.
Right.
I want to say I love how you described the interactions. I was trying to find one of when they finally hook up and they finally get together, like the smell of autumn and the taste of cider and the smell of hay, and all of those things that we all associate with this coziness of the turning of the season. And that's how she's experiencing him when she kisses him and she's with him. And I just thought, man, I mean, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing bad about that. Not a single thing. Like, all of it is wonderful and fantastical. And yes, like all of it. I loved it.
I like the cozy stuff. I do. And I think, like, in my personal life, I associate people with smell, which is maybe strange, but I do. And so the first thing I want to write about is that connection. I mean, I feel like any character would, I don't know, they would notice that first about another person that they'd be interested in.
One thing you mentioned is that this was a very family story. What parts of your own family did you incorporate in Lenore and her family line?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Definitely the heaviness of the matrilineal line and the stories, and also the knowledge that is passed down from one woman to another woman to another woman. That is what my family is. That is who I am. I am immersed in the stories that were passed down to me. I'm lucky. I knew my great grandparents. That I got the chance to meet them. I knew both my grandparents. I've got my mother, luckily, and it's just all been. I talk with my hands. It's all been passed down through the generations. And what shows in the book is somehow things don't change. They do, but they don't. And it might not be a family member you have ever met, or you may be many multi-generations apart, but you're still family. And that comes through in the book.
I love how incorporating, there was this whole the people who were burned at the stake as witches, they were just medicine women. They were just medicine women. And so incorporating, like, here we have our herb garden, and here we have all of these things and the books of potions were actually just the records of what worked to help people who were ill and all of that stuff. But I love how it's incorporated into this sort of hominess and nurturing and everything, which is exactly what witches of old were. They were medicine women. And I love that. The other thing I love about this, I like that when she touches alder trees, he shudders. I love that she healed a tree all of her own volition, and somehow that set something off, that she was far more powerful than any of her incarnations before. And I think that's pretty spectacular in the story, that in a way she healed him too. And then now he's here to protect her and to help her do what she needs to do in a way that no one has ever been able to do before.
Wow.
I have to ask this, and I'm actually asking the whole room, but I'm specifically asking you, Victoria. Do you believe in ghosts, and have you had experience with a ghost?
Yes, yes, I do believe in ghosts, and yes, I've had experiences. I grew up in a house that was very haunted, and nobody could deny it if they spent 5 minutes there. Even the most non-believer of non-believers, if I could just bring them there for 5 minutes, they'd change their mind. Which gives me a unique ability to write kind of cheeky about it, because the ghosts in that house were my family. I lived in a house that was built by my family. It was 300 years old. Um, and so there's multi-generational thing comes back again. Um, and So to me, ghosts are not something to be frightened of. They're not something that I'm afraid of. It's just they're there. And I think that comes out across in this book, particularly because she's so cheeky about it. She is really, really cheeky about it. But yes, personally, I believe in ghosts. But I'm curious, what about y'all?
I do.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant with my oldest, I nearly died several times. And but it was weird because in the house I never really felt alone, even when I was alone. And we think it was Larry's grandfather because he kept turning off lights of rooms that I wasn't in. Like, let's save electricity. And there's his favorite flower, which it has sprouted up in every house we've lived in our entire marriage, out of nowhere. Just it's a wildflower and it just wouldn't be there. And then the next spring it would sprout up. And so definitely something looking, you know, looking out for me, if that makes any sense at all.
I actually have one. When I was a foster mom for 9 years, and one of my foster children, which I still am in contact with her today. She's 12 years old. She's almost 13. She's almost a teenager. But I had her when she was 2 months to 8 months old. And when she was just learning, like we had put her in this like bouncy seat, and she kept looking at something and she just kept waving and waving. And me and my mom just were like, what in the world is going on? And so finally, during one of the visits, I asked the mom, I go, do you have any family members that have passed away? And she goes, actually, the week I found out I was pregnant with her, my brother passed away.
Wow.
I just wonder, like, and so I've watched her grow up and kept in contact, and she used to still think she saw spirits up to about 2 years ago. And I actually asked her the most recent time, I said, do you still feel like you see spirits? And she goes, no, I don't think I do. But like up till about she was 10 years old, she was still saying she was seeing spirits. So cool.
I have a kind of little scary one, but I don't know what you guys would call it. But my mom, when she used to live back in Washington State, I was visiting there for the month of October, so perfect timing, right? And I stayed in this room that they said was scary. They call it like the ghost room. So, you know me, it's just I didn't believe in it. And I kid you not, for the entire month I was there, I had nightmares, like night terrors, but I didn't know what it was. And my niece, I'm sorry, not my niece, my cousin, younger cousin, she spent the night there once and she slept in the living room. And we all heard her screaming that there was a little girl, a headless little girl, walking into the kitchen. And I'm like, is that her? Like, is that the one who I kind of feel that's like, I don't know, it just felt really evil. So maybe it wasn't a ghost. Maybe it was just something not, it definitely wasn't Casper. I'll tell you that much. And uh, my siblings have had the same dream, a girl, a headless girl in the closet. And I stopped having those night terrors when I left. So yeah,
Wow.
sorry to rain down on that, all that good stories.
So what about Rebecca or um
Yes, I definitely believe in ghosts. And I wish that I had like a really cool story about this, but I don't. My two main things are just I'll get dream visits from beings, be that pets or relatives or friends who've passed away. And there's just a really noticeable difference between, oh, I dreamt about Gypsum and
Yes.
oh, Gypsum visited me last night.
Mm.
And then also my last apartment was built in like the 1850s, and there was a really unhappy family that lived there, and I had to like brush them out about weekly just so that they'd stop making things happen. So
Ooh.
yes, I believe in ghosts.
I'm kind of on the fence because I haven't actually experienced anything, even though my sister believes in them and I've been on ghost hunts with her. I also have a story about my daughter when she was really young, staying at the babysitter's, um, and she was seeing a spirit of some kind, and the babysitter didn't tell me any of this until um, we were kind of done with the babysitting phase, and that's when she told me, and I was like, why did you tell me this? Um, so she was about 2, and the house that my babysitter was renting at the time, apparently there was an older guy who had died in it, and she had some weird things happen, but just was kind of like, well, I'm sure it's just something awkward or whatever. And then one day, she said to my daughter, "Here, come sit by me in your chair and in your special chair." And my daughter's like, "I can't sit there." And she said, "Why can't you sit there?" And she said, "There's a man sitting in my chair. I can't sit there." And the babysitter was like, "Oh, okay, well, come sit with me then. Come cuddle with me in my chair, and we'll watch TV." And so she did, and she hadn't told my little girl anything about whoever was in this house. And she also had to brush the spirit. She would like say something out of the Bible every night, and she had to do a ritual every night to get constant calm sleep. Otherwise, things would happen, and she would be waking up in the middle of the night. Um, so I haven't had anything actually happen to me personally, and seen anything that I'm like, okay, there is only one reason for that to happen. So I'm kind of waiting. I'm waiting to see if if anything will actually ever happen to me, even though I've been on ghost hunts and I've done other things. So I don't know. I definitely believe in a spiritual realm. I just don't know exactly what's over there.
I have another question for all of you. So we've heard a little bit about Victoria's family lore. Do any of you have family stories that might sit on the edge of supernatural or that kind of thing that have been passed down for generations to your family?
Yes.
Okay.
Sounded like a question. Yes.
Well, it's in a very
Maybe.
different tone than Victoria's, her knockers. So my family lore are the long-fingered Iggies.
What?
And these are creatures that live in the basement and can reach up through the heat vents in the floor with their like really, really long pale fingers and grab little children.
Oh,
So that's my family lore, is the long-fingered Iggies that haunt the HVAC and grab children through the vents.
wow. I can't believe your parents told you that.
Yeah, that's
My
crazy.
grandfather did. Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness.
My dad wanted nothing to do with it, and every time we visited my grandparents, Grandpa Mel would tell me about the long-fingered Iggies, and then of course the heating vents would do their little banging noise as the heat shifts, and my sister and I would just scream and run.
Oh my goodness. Anybody else have family lore?
There's one in mine. So my family's all from Mexico, and when you think of a dwarf, you mostly, at least for me, I think of Tolkien's dwarves. So in Mexico, we call them duendes, and this one is basically kind of like leprechaun size, maybe like definitely under 3 feet, who hides under your bed, or he appears in the corner of the room and he just laughs at you. And I had an uncle who had Down syndrome, so he wasn't really much speech-wise, and he would see them and he would point at them. And my mom had one, everyone at least had an experience who've lived in that house where they see him like in the corner of the window. My brother, when he was little, when we visited over there, he freaked out and saw him, that he was laughing at him under the bed. So, and then if you Google duendes like lore, like on TikTok or something, there's a lot of people from Mexico will have like their own story of this little evil dwarf that just um, follows you or just laughs at you from like a distance and watches you. Luckily, I haven't had anything like that.
Does anybody else have family lore? Because I do have one to share, but I wanted all you guys to share first.
I just have to say that y'all are making me really like uncomfortable to eventually get off this call and be alone in my dark house. Just saying.
Well, maybe mine will help a little
Light
bit.
your sage, put it through the house, you'll be all right.
I've got my two cats. If they start looking at anything, I'll get out the sage.
Yeah.
Just put salt around your bed. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
I'm so
Mine
glad
is
I
a-
didn't
Go ahead.
tell any of the actual ghost stories.
Would you say, Victoria? Can you say that again?
I didn't tell any of the actual ghost stories in my family because we have a bunch.
Do you want to share one?
I can. Do you want
Rebecca?
well, I have one from when I was a baby. This is a similar story. You guys will love this because my grandmother used to watch me when my mother was in college. And there was a time, I do not remember this, you guys, I was little bitty, but she had me laying out on a blanket while she was washing dishes in her old house. And she turned around and saw me waving, going, hi. And she saw the tail of a blue dress go out the door. She didn't see like a full apparition, but she saw the tail of a blue dress go out the door.
Wow. But not anything scary or creepy or anything for that story at least. Right.
Pretty scary now.
My family lore is a little bit different. So my grandmother's great aunt. So very old woman when she told my grandmother this story. And then my grandmother, till the day she died, she would cry when she told the story. But my great aunt was one of the people who went in a wagon train, traveled across the country, and settled in a small town in rural Nebraska, way out far away from where I am now. And the people there wanted a church and there was no preacher. And so she became the preacher of this church and trying to live off the land and all of this stuff and sharing all these stories about how hard it was and everything she had to do. She was kind of on her own. It sounds like the family that she had come with kind of left her in one place and went on to another. But the dentist, if you know anything about the 1800s and out there, the dentist would come to these travel around these small towns and come about once a year, take care of everybody's dental needs while they were there, and then they would move on to the next town. They were circuit dentists. And to this day, it's more costly to extract teeth than it is to make false teeth. So her teeth were super bad. And she was an older woman by this time. And she couldn't afford the teeth extractions. She could afford the dentures, but not the extractions. And so she got on her knees and she prayed. And she said, Lord, either provide the money or do something about my teeth because I don't know what to do anymore. And when she woke up the next morning, all of her teeth were on her bedside table. And till the day my grandmother died, she would cry when she told that story. And she went to the dentist, and the dentist was like, I saw you yesterday, and your whole mouth is healed and ready for dentures. How did this happen? And she told him, and he couldn't believe her and fitted her for dentures that day.
Wow.
Yeah, it sends shivers down your spine, doesn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, that's one of our family lore. My dad still talks about it because he heard his mother tell this story all the time. And like I said, every time she ever told it to me, and she told it to me repeatedly, every time she told it to me, she cried. So yeah, that's our family lore.
I have nightmares about my teeth falling out. I don't need that in my brain.
I do
Well,
too.
just don't pray that they disappear and you should be fine.
So Victoria,
I wanted to
I
ask.
have another
Oh,
question for you. This is kind of along the same line, but um, so you were saying that all of these stories are kind of passed down through generation to generation, and you still, you're with your mom. I'm assuming your mom has read it. What does she think about you including all of the myths, and does she think you I'm sure she obviously probably said, "Hey, this is a great job," because you are her daughter. But how does she think about the tales that you kind of incorporated in the book?
Hmm. I think that her ancestors are so very, very proud of her, and she passed it along beautifully. She couldn't have said it better if she had been my great great grandmother, who I heard it from when I was 5 or 6 years old. I think they would be just overjoyed with her.
Well, there's your answer, guys. Did you hear?
Love that she's
We're so glad
there.
you're here.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Thank you so
By
much
the
for
way, I'm
sharing.
I think she's okay with it, guys.
I asked everybody else what their favorite part of this story is, but what is your favorite part, especially since it has such a familial meaning?
Mhm.
I think my favorite part is the book in the attic. I think that the fact that even though maybe things were not given to her directly, that her family left her things to find, left her guidance, knowing they wouldn't always be there forever. And there's something super comforting knowing that someone who came before you cared enough about you to leave you a guidebook of some kind. So I think that's my favorite part. I love Gwillem too. I couldn't have imagined him better. So that would be my second favorite part. Or the bat. Drusilla's pretty cool too, y'all.
I really liked the bat animal familiar. That was so much fun and unique, and I loved how you presented it. That was really good.
And I liked how at the very end you had to end it with Drusilla as well. That's very cute too. But my favorite character of all was also Gwillem. So, all right, before we wrap up, are there any other questions people would like to ask Victoria?
I had one. So I love Charlie's bubbly personality, especially her comments throughout the end of the book. Like when all this action sequence is happening towards the end, and she's just kind of like narrating, like, yeah, that's my bestie, and oh, look, like just like almost taunting like what's the knockers and all that, the evils that are happening. And one thing I wanted to ask is, did you find her chemistry with Lenore difficult to write or pretty easy for you? I know you mentioned earlier that Charlie's personality was like almost the opposite of you. So did you find any difficulty in writing that?
I did have a little bit of difficulty writing her. I sort of created a character that would really be just, I wanted someone who really came across as a best friend. And your best friend usually is not somebody who's just like you. Usually you have quite a few differences, and that's why you click so well.
Mhm.
And I wanted it, Lenore's kind of dark, and not dark in a bad, evil way, but she's much more grounded. And Charlie is not grounded in any way. She is a little butterfly, an effervescent butterfly. And I did have a little bit of difficulty writing her. A shocker. Although I'm very animated, I'm also not an effervescent butterfly. I'm pretty grounded too. And it was sort of like intentionally picking characteristics that I really knew not a lot about. So yeah, you work on it, but there, I think she's okay.
Yeah, you wrote her really good. I loved her.
And their chemistry is great too. Do you have a friend that's effervescent like that you're close to?
I do. I do. And she's probably even more, she's not effervescent in the same way that Charlie is, but she is very She's light in the way where I wear mostly dark colors and autumn tones. She wears all pastels, and she's into sweet lovey-dovey things, and I'll take that morally gray character any day of the week. And we're very opposite, but she is nowhere near as bubbly as Charlie.
Other questions?
Can I ask, Miriam, did you do the drawing at the back of the book of Victoria, or is that someone else?
Oh, yes, of Lenore?
Yeah.
Yes, that was me. Yeah, that's my art.
Oh, that's
I
beautiful.
also
Love
did.
it. Well, I was like, it was like an extra bonus when I got to the back. I was like, oh my gosh.
I didn't realize
Yes.
that was your
If you
drawing.
ever get
That's
my
so
paperbacks, you'll
awesome.
always find some art in my books. But I was really happy. That's actually how Victoria and I um, really connected, huh, Victoria? She won. I sometimes now and then I'll do free portraits on Twitter. I'll just offer them whoever wants to do them. And Victoria was one of the winners. And I got to know more about her personally in DMs. And I also did. She commissioned me to do the family tree that's in the first pages of that book.
That's
Yeah.
really pretty too. Yeah, I was gonna ask that too.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask about that family tree. That's so awesome.
Yep. There it is.
Very pretty. I love it.
Miriam is currently working on this top secret project for me. I've commissioned her to do. She's just amazing. So I've commissioned her to do quite a bit more. Basically, she's like my favorite artist ever. But and don't even get me started. We'll talk about her book at a different time. But I love her books too. So she's kind of uber talented.
I try.
I wish I could draw too. I can't draw myself out of a bucket, and I'm terrible at drawing. So anytime I see an artist, I'm like, that is so cool.
Honestly,
love
for
drawing.
me, oh, sorry.
I love drawing, but I cannot do people. I try to do people and I cannot do people. If the best I can do of people is if I just do the outline of them, but once I start trying to shade and stuff, it's like no one should ever see it.
I was gonna say when authors give me their references for their characters, no matter what it looks like, it doesn't matter to me. I can see like their vision through there. Like I can see what it is that they're looking for or what the impression is. And so for me personally, even if it's like how you said, like an outline, like that's enough for me. I'd rather choose your outline or the chicken scratch marks of like the character than like a perfect reference photo of like somebody else. I don't know. I feel like that speaks more to me.
Well, it gives you some creative liberties there a little bit too, and you just have a rough outline of what you're looking for.
Yes, and Victoria's the current character that I'm drawing at the moment. He's so handsome. I'm just like I try not to show like commission artwork. I try not to reveal it. So I had my hand on my Twitter post. I'm just showing his like really handsome, like sexy eye, and I'm just like I really want to show him, but I can't because that's Victoria's. But I'm just like, yeah, you're gonna love the final work,
I
Victoria.
think I might know who it is. I'm super excited to see it.
I can't wait to see it. And Myron, you do. You know who it is.
Oh, good. Excited.
Okay, so
Rebecca, do you have any questions?
one last question from me. Victoria, is there any genre that you have not yet explored that you plan to in the future?
I'm trying to think of a genre I haven't written in because I've done horror and sci-fi and I've done contemporary, done reincarnate. I don't know that there's anything. I am just always looking for something new. I will say this. Maybe this is the better answer to your question. I am writing a true book as well that is just my experiences, like ghosty experiences, things that have really happened or things I've really experienced. Now, I don't know what I'm ever going to do with that book. That's just for my own personal recording, but I've had a couple of people ask about it. So I might put it in book form, and that's something I haven't tackled. I've not yet tackled something that was nonfiction. So maybe I'll do that too. Maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. As we wrap up, I just want to remind everyone that next month we'll be diving into Children of Rima. It's a dark enemies to lovers fantasy by our co-host Miriam Yvette. Do you want to share anything else about that book, Miriam?
Maybe get ready to get disappointed sometimes. My characters, Lucan has a friend who is very, very flawed. He's mouthy. So just some trigger warnings. He's loves to curse. He likes to annoy people, likes to poke at people. Even Lucan himself, he's a morally great character. So if you get annoyed by those broody type of guys who just kind of have like an attitude problem, just heads up. But Eileen will also match Lucan's energy. You'll see that a lot in Children of Rima. So they're just going to be going like this throughout the entire time.
Awesome. And that will be going live November 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and will be streamed live on YouTube over at the Reading Nook. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps others find us and grow this community of fantasy lovers. Also, just a huge thank you to Victoria Clapton for sharing her insights and bringing us the spine tingling. I had to get a little cheesy for Halloween, but the spine tingling world of, how do you pronounce that? How do you pronounce the town? Something Hollow?
Oh, Hyreth.
Hyreth.
Hollow.
Yeah, Hyreth Hollow. I was
Mhm.
afraid I was going to totally butcher that. And thank you for our incredible co-hosts, Rebecca, Dawn, Myrenne, and Miriam, and just for your time, your energy, and everything that you guys bring here. And also don't forget that in 2 weeks we are going to be talking about the second book in ACOTAR as well. So anyway, thank you all.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
And then my awkward leaving as I try to close this out, which of course my